Today, President Trump is taking his interest rate fight straight to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's doorstep. He will tour the Federal Reserve's headquarters today, marking just the fourth time a U.S. president has visited the central bank. President Trump says the Fed is hurting the U.S. housing market and holding back the American economy. Lydia Hu is in Washington as we wait for the president's visit. Hey, Lydia.
Hi there, Brian. You know, the last time we had a president visit the Federal Reserve headquarters, which are just behind me, was back in 2006 when then President George W. Bush came for the swearing-in ceremony of Ben Bernanke as Fed chair. So you can see today's visit by President Trump are coming amid very different circumstances. It comes amid mounting criticism of Fed Chair Jerome Powell, his handling of monetary policy, as well as his management and oversight of the ongoing renovations that you can see taking place just behind us. These renovations going on since 2022, and President Trump has been very critical of the cost overruns, which now amount to $700 million, pushing spending on the renovations up to $2.5 billion. The White House accuses the Fed's revamp of including extravagant rooftop gardens, VIP elevators, high-end dining rooms. Fed Chair Powell, though, denies these allegations. The Fed even posting drawings this week showing the construction plans. You can see here highlighted in pink areas on the roof that they say are actually vegetative spaces on the roof, not extravagant rooftop gardens. They say these vegetative spaces are needed for stormwater management. But that additional information is not quieting the critics. Listen.
It's a big problem, and Jerome Powell needs to resign. I think there needs to be an investigation. I think that maybe he lied to Congress. I think things are going to get a lot worse for Jerome Powell, and it'd just be better off if he resigned.
Now, to be clear, Brian, the calls for Jerome Powell to resign have been mixed from the administration. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, for example, said that Powell would likely serve out his term with an announcement about who would be appointed in his place coming perhaps later in December or January even. Still, with Trump's visit here, it is definitely escalating the scrutiny on Jerome Powell, his handling of monetary policy, handling of oversight of the renovations. And it begs the question whether they could find cause here to remove Powell and then perhaps pursue that. So we're going to follow it.
Well, I think the president will carefully look around, Lydia. Thanks for that report. We appreciate it. Let's see. Dagan talked about Bubblicious earlier. Jackie, I would call this visit by Trump to the Federal Reserve juicy fruit. This is going to be very interesting. But what does it ultimately mean, do you think?
I think he's trying to intimidate Jerome Powell. And I think that he's been saying for some time that rates should be lower. He's saying they should be 3 points lower, that they should be 3 points lower because of the inflation data. I'm not necessarily sure that 300 basis points is going to be lopped off of the Fed funds rate immediately. But having said that, the data does indicate that we should see rates a little lower, at least from where they are. You know, Powell has played politics. We've seen that time and time again. He cuts before the election, but when the data actually shows you that it's time to cut, he doesn't move. Having said that, many are saying, Dagan has brought it up 100 times, how our interest on our debt is killing our country. So that's a huge issue to think about. And that's not why Jerome Powell should, or whoever is the Fed chair come next May, should cut rates. They should be looking at the overall picture. That would be a positive byproduct for sure. I think that Trump realizes that this economy is a little frothy. I think he realizes that housing is a problem and our national debt and its interests are a problem. He's trying to work on those things. I think he goes and visits the Fed and he's trying to make a really bold statement. I mean, it's no mystery that he hates Powell.
Right.
So when two adversaries meet face to face, what do you think is the messaging there?
I do think there's a little element of intimidation here. I agree with you on that. As a markets guy, Mike Lee, do you want there to be an intimidation thing going on? Is that good for what we're trying to do in the markets, or is it counterproductive?
Well, look, you know, Trump gets a lot of criticism for breaking norms, but it's when we're in a situation right now and he's heavily criticizing Powell and he's so open and verbal about it, like you're in a bit of a situation where the emperor has no clothes when it comes to Jerome Powell. Like you have inflation trending at or below the Fed's 2% target, and we're still at 4.25 to 4.5. We are tighter now than we have been our entire time of this inflation supercycle, meaning the difference between where the Fed funds rate is and where inflation is trending is at the widest gap it's been. So why wouldn't you cut? If interest rates were 100 basis points lower, 3.25 to 3.25, it's easy for Jerome Powell to say, hey, I'm going to err on the side of caution. This was the worst inflation in 40 years. I'm sorry to the economy if I've got to be a little bit tight, but inflation's a bigger problem. We are nowhere near that. Core services, ex-housing, which is supposedly the special sauce or the secret number that Jerome Powell loves the most, is trending below 2%, according to the last month. So, like, I don't know what he's getting at other than being a hyper-partisan. And I think it was about 3.5 weeks ago, Bernie Moreno took him to task and said, hey, you can't comment on shutting down the economy. You can't comment on the largest peacetime deficits in a period of expansion in the history of our country. You can tell us we should forgive all sorts of student loan debt, right? But you're apolitical when it comes to talking about tariffs. And again, how many inflation prints have we had since he announced the tariffs? And this is why we're not raising? Like, it's a joke. And it's, you know, you don't want to see our Federal Reserve come to this and be so blatantly political, but it is.
Dagan.
He is a posturing partisan hack. And I find this tour of this Federal Reserve building renovation by the President of the United States utterly amazing. Because keep the man in his job and just tear up what is left of his reputation. Just make sure he can never even get a book deal because nobody is going to want to read a word about this man's tenure impoverishing the nation. He impoverished every working man and woman. He blew out the balance sheet, sopped up trillions of dollars in unnecessary spending by Biden and company, and then to fight the inflation that he and his cronies created, he jacked interest rates to the moon and destroyed the wealth and prosperity of people who have to work for a living. They've lost realized losses of a $250 billion, roughly $250 billion, illegally funding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I need to renovate these two buildings. It's two buildings. And if you read through these letters, it's hilarious because you can tell that they're quibbling over what is a garden and what isn't a garden.
Vegetative space.
Right. And
for drainage.
I want President Trump. Ed Lawrence is going to be, I believe, going to be on the tour of the building today.
Okay.
I want to see the president walk around and say, this is not Carrera marble. How much did you pay for this marble? This marble is laid like crap. How much you paying per hour for this install? This is horrible caulk work. Look at how much did you pay for these windows? Because these windows, this is the low of the low. This is just utter garbage. Because we have a Federal Reserve chief who won't get the hell out of there. A man who in every way, at every turn, is bagged with money.
Tiffany, I think it is fascinating that of any president, this one knows more about buildings and building stuff than nobody knows more than Trump. And he's going to use that to go into the Fed and just turn the screws a little bit.
We just saw the numbers. The Fed and Powell are spending $2.5 billion on fancy parties and rooftop gardens, whatever they might be. But look, when Trump was elected, he made a commitment that he was going to expose waste, fraud, and abuse. So I think this administration wants to see what Jerome Powell is doing every day, what is happening in that building. And it's due to the American people to know that as well. Because there's no lie. So Powell's having these fund parties, and the American people are being crushed by inflation. Interest rates are way too high, costing us billions of dollars. And you have to wonder, like Jerome Powell, in his irresponsible speculations on Trump's tariffs, on Trump's deals, the market that Trump is creating, you can look at the numbers and he still refuses to cut the rate. So I don't think he's going to resign. I don't think Powell is going to resign anytime soon. He's not going to get fired. But I think this is President Trump's way of exposing the real story.
And I bet Jay Powell was up early this morning polishing the marble floors at the building in anticipation.